Hello and welcome. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Gargi Rawat. First, let's take a look at the headlines we're tracking. Football official Deepak Sharma is arrested after NDTV reported on how two women footballers allegedly assaulted them during a tour in Goa. Sports Minister Anurag Thakur had taken notice of the NDTV report and asked for action to be taken. The BJP releases its 8th list of Lok Sabha candidates. 11 candidates make it to the list. Praneet Kaur is fielded from Patiala, Taranjeet Sandhu from Amritsar, Ravneet Bittu from Ludhiana and Hansraj Hans from Faridkot. In the poll season, it's raining tax notices against opposition parties. The Congress says it got 2 more notices overnight after having already received an 1,800 crore notice. The CPI also received an 11 crore notice, while Trinamool Congress MP Saket Gokhale says he received 11 notices. The NCP Sharad Pawar faction announces its first list of 5 candidates for the Lok Sabha elections. In its first list, the party renominated sitting MP Supriya Sule from Baramati and Marathi TV actor turned politician Amol Kolhe from Shirur. The wives of jailed ministers, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and his former counterpart from Jharkhand, Hemant Soren, meet in Delhi today. Kalpana Soren says she and Sunita Kejriwal will take the fight forward. And NDTV wins big at NBA 2023. Various programs, news, views, business as well as talk shows win awards. While it is the election season and most of the news currently is election related, but one of the big stories all day today on NDTV has been the alleged assault by a Football Association official on 2 women footballers in Goa. The official was arrested just a short while ago. Now, the 2 women footballers of Khad FC, a Himachal Pradesh-based club, alleged that Deepak Sharma, an executive committee member of the All India Football Federation, assaulted them in their room. Sports Minister Anurag Thakur reacted to the NDTV report and asked for action to be taken. And he said he wanted a report on the action taken, which led to the arrest of this official just a short while ago. But today, on Left, Right and Centre, the question we're asking, what can we do and is the government doing enough to make our sports world safer for women? So that is going to be the big discussion on NDTV on Left, Right and Centre. Now, before we go across to our guests, let's just listen into what one of the footballers told NDTV. That's Palak Verma. She's one of the 2 women footballers who's made this allegation. And she said, Sir was drunk.
Actually, उस दिन हमारा मैच था. मुझे मेरी इंजरी है, मुझे बैक पेन था, तो मैंने खाना नहीं खाया था उस रीजन से. तो रात में मैंने अपने टीममेट को बोल करके अंडे ऑलरेडी बुलवा करके रखे थे कि अगर मुझे भूख लगेगी तो मैं अंडे खा लूंगी रात को. तो मुझे रात में 10:30-11 बज रहे थे. मैं अंडे बॉईल करने के लिए मैं किचन में गई. फिर मैंने अंडे बॉईल किए तो एक लड़की मेरे साथ और किचन में थी. सर ने उसको रूम में बुलाया. उसके बाद मैं रूम में थी, मैं अंडे रख करके रूम के अंदर आ गई थी और मेरी जो टीममेट थी वो किचन में थी. उसको सर ने रूम में बुलाया और उसको पूछा कि क्या कर रहे हो इतनी रात में. फिर उसने बोला सर उसने खाना नहीं खाया है तो वो अंडे बॉईल कर दिया. तो सर ने उसको डांट करके अंदर रूम में भेज दिया. वो रूम में आई और सर ने फिर मुझे आवाज दी बाहर से ला करके कि पलक बाहर. मैं बाहर गई. मैंने बोला यस सर. बोला तू ये क्या कर रही थी रात को. मैंने बोला सर मैंने खाना नहीं खाया तो मैं एग बॉईल कर रही हूँ. तो उन्होंने बोला कि फेंक के सारे अंडे तू कहीं से स्पेशल है, कोई कहाँ से आई हुई है, तेरे पास ज्यादा पैसा है ये वो. मैंने बोला नहीं सर मैंने खाना नहीं खाया, मैं इसीलिए अंडे बॉईल कर रही हूँ क्योंकि खाना खत्म हो गया. तो बोला फेंक के सारे अंडे उठा करके वो बहुत जोर जोर से चिल्लाते एंड ही वाज ड्रंक दैट टाइम.
एंड आप पर हाथ उठाया उन्होंने?
अंडे फेंकने बोला, मैंने अंडे सारे फेंक दिए और फिर मैं रोने लगी किचन में. मैंने बर्तन साफ किया बॉईल करने वाला और मैं रूम में आके रोने लगी. तो जब मैं रूम में अंदर आई तो मैंने गेट गुस्से में जोर से बंद किया. मैं रो रही थी कुछ. तो मैं रूम में आकर के रोने लगी और सर बाहर से जब मैंने गेट जोर से लगाया तो सर भागकर अंदर आए. और उस टाइम पे मेरे रूममेट जो थी, रात के 11 बज रहे थे उस टाइम, और मेरी रूममेट विदाउट टी शर्ट थी. शी वॉज टॉपलेस दैट टाइम. और सर डायरेक्टली विदाउट नॉक के रूम के अंदर आए और सीधे उन्होंने अंदर आके मेरे ऊपर हाथ उठाया.
All right, so that is the account of one of those women footballers in her own words of what happened that night. We're joined on the phone line by Valanka Alemao, AIFF Women's Committee Chairperson. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Your comments on this entire episode and the fact that, you know, after the media reported it is when the matter got escalated. The Sports Minister Anurag Thakur took notice of the NDTV report and immediately, you know, posted on social media and said that he wants to know what action has been taken. And now, just a short while ago, the arrest was made.
Yeah, hi. So I had gone to meet them on behalf of the Federation and to see that the girls are safe. And to please go ahead with the complaint, because being a woman, I can understand what a woman goes through. And nobody, if anybody has done such thing, can go scot-free. And the Federation has assured these girls that come what may, the wrongdoer will be punished. He can be anybody.
All right, and you know, obviously these are very young girls. They're very concerned about their career and also, you know, going forward their safety. So what is your message to these women?
No, and please understand, I don't know who's taking advantage, you know, of the predicament of these girls, because the right to privacy of such things have to be, you know, kept and understood, because you can't just go ahead and give their names and all of that. So we assured these girls that whatever it is, justice cannot be denied and justice has to be given to you guys, because tomorrow these girls have to play and play for our country. So the safety of these girls is the most important concern.
Joined by my colleague Rika Roy. Rika, go ahead. You want to ask one question?
Valanka, Rika here. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast this evening. Well, you've been in football administration for a very, very long time. And I was very surprised to hear from one of the girls, complainants, that she took your name, saying that you and another official, the manager of the team, asked them not to complain. Could you tell us what happened, and were the girls lying in your and the official's name?
First of all, the manager was not even there. Okay? So this is completely false. There is some false news being spread to defame me. And I personally think that the association here in Goa has their, personal agendas to defame me. And that is what exactly is happening. I am nobody to tell somebody, not to complain. And if that was the intention, I wouldn't even have gone there.
So clearly the girls have not given NDTV all the story that they should have given, and perhaps some of the stories, some of the links were missing there. But Valanka, what I really want to know, the incident happened on Thursday. Why did it take till Saturday for a complaint, Friday night, for a complaint to be filed, and Saturday for us to do a story, and then the sports minister to ring into action for this guy to be arrested?
Rika, please understand that these girls have already given the complaint to the Federation. And I just got to know about it yesterday.
Okay, and then in the 24th...
As I got to know about it, I went to them and I spoke to them. Where is the question of withdrawing the complaint? Where is the question? And
so
please,
they
anybody who knows me and who understands will always tell you that being a woman, the woman will always support the other women. I represent the Football Federation.
Right. So what you're trying to tell us is that the new people in charge of Goa Football Federation are trying to manipulate these girls 100%. And are trying to defame someone as senior as you.
Exactly. And please understand, nobody can stop these girls from going ahead with the complaint. Forget me. Who am I?
Okay, what is being done, Valanka, what is being done to ensure the safety of the girls, and also to ensure that if they are deserving, that they get picked hereafter?
See, Rika, a serious inquiry is on, and please understand, legal action will be taken. First of all, the Federation has already decided to suspend Mr. Deepak Sharma from all footballing activities unless the probe is complete.
Right. So, being the chairperson there in charge of women's football, what will you do to ensure that these girls, if they are deserving in the future, they get picked and their safety is, they are looked after and their safety is paramount?
Of course, their safety is paramount. And we will have to see to this, because we have made sure that actually there have to be more females traveling with these girls than males. And we have a child safeguarding policy at place as well.
All right, well, to talk more about this entire episode, and
standard operating
we will discuss a little more with you.
so that we don't come to this.
absolutely, and those standard operating procedures must work. It shouldn't be that the media raises the issue, and as Rika was saying, and as I pointed out first, it was Times of India, the reporter there who reported this story. NDTV also extensively reported it all day today. Then you had the sports minister taking notice, and finally some action has been taken. Yes, those two women footballers have alleged that they were being pressurized to take this back, that this would ruin the career of this football official. Well, to talk more about this, we're joined by Jonathan D'Souza, Vice President, Goa Football Association, and Dr. Sunita Godara, Asian Marathon Champion and fitness coach. Now, thank you so much for joining us. And first, Jonathan D'Souza, if you can tell us, how the complaint came to you, the action you took. You were also involved in the filing of this complaint. Initially, it was just to the Federation. Later, it became a police complaint.
Yeah, first, so I'll just take you back for 2 days. On Thursday night, this incident happened. On Friday morning, I got a call from the match commissioner, and since Goa Football Association was organizing this tournament in association with All India Football Federation, I went to the match commissioner, I met him. He told me that 2 girls and 3 witnesses have signed a letter stating that they were physically assaulted and that one of the officials was in an inebriated condition. Immediately, since it was a holiday that day, Good Friday, I told the GFA secretary along with the match commissioner to go to the place where they were staying and just do a preliminary investigative report, which was then forwarded to AIFF. In the evening, around 7 o'clock, the girls contacted the match commissioner again, saying that they were feeling a bit unsafe. So I thought it would be best for the Goa Football Association to just intimate the police that such and such incident has happened, and this would help take any preventive action, or if any untoward incident had to happen, at least the police would have been informed. So this was our sole intention. I don't know how allegations are coming against us that we are trying to manipulate these girls. In fact, we have had no contact with the girls. The only contact with the girls we have had was on Friday when General Secretary and the match commissioner visited the girls, and today when we were at the police station when they came to file the complaint. So I don't understand how this scenario of us manipulating the girls is coming.
All right. I mean, in our report, we do say that Nandita came and these girls claim that they were being pressurized to take back, as I said,
Absolutely.
that the official's career would get spoiled. So we'll go across to Rika for more on that. But before that, Dr. Sunita Godara, your comments on this episode and the larger picture. There needs to be action taken. There needs to be SOPs in place. It can't be that only when a story gets played up, the media picks it up. That is when we see officials, actually facing some sort of action.
See, first, most important thing is the male part of the federations or anybody for that matter, they should not go to the girls' room. It should not be allowed. It is not allowed, and it should not be allowed. When there is a lady manager, if this person was having some problem that they are boiling eggs at night or why they are doing so, then he could have asked the lady manager to go to their room and stop that thing. Secondly, who gives them right to assault girls, misbehave with girls? They are not guinea pigs. They are all international, national level athletes. So these male counterparts, they should give them respect. Anybody, whosoever.
No, ma'am, you're absolutely right. And if you see the account, that the girls have given from the time they left Himachal to when they reached Goa. This official was drinking in front of them. So, I mean, this sort of behavior, it's very, very unseemly.
Be more cautious, you know, and the federation lady manager, they should give them some kind of awareness that once you are drunk, please, you should not be seen around where girls are staying. Because see, we cannot say that don't drink, okay, because they will do that. So then they have to follow some rules and regulations, some morality, some ethics, you know. When you are drunk, you are going to the girls' room, and privacy right, where is that? How can any male male person of sports tournament can go to the girls' room? It's not at all
I mean, that's the basic.
And this person should be given punishment, exemplary punishment, so that others will not do this. Because sometimes these things are happening in sports, you know, and these girls have guts to complain. Otherwise, sometimes girls just keep quiet.
That's right.
Otherwise, no, they are scared.
And Rika, the point that you raised about, you know, these girls, their careers shouldn't suffer. They shouldn't be victimized, you know, going forward because they raised their voice, they made a complaint. Clearly, a lot of, you know, rules were broken here. As Dr. Sunita Godara said, you know, a male coach should not even go, official should not even go to the women's room. The fact that in the account that, you know, the girls have given, they say that he started drinking from the time they left Himachal Pradesh, and he was drinking in front of them. So all this sort of behavior is something, you know, very unseemly. These are young girls. They're coming out of their state. They're going, trying to put up the best show, and then they face all this.
Gargi, I must point out here that when they were traveling from Himachal to Goa all the way, there wasn't a woman with them. The woman who's their coach, not coach, but manager, she joined them later. She joined them in Goa later, and she happens to be the wife of this man, and hence she was the one who was also pressurizing them to take back the complaint. So why would the Football Federation allow, or even the local federation allow a man who's an overall in charge, his wife to be the manager of the team? It completely beats me. And you know, it just goes on to show how sports is run in our country, and in such an unprofessional manner. How can both of them, you know, they are culprits in this case. One was pressurizing the girls to take back the complaint, and the other thrashed the girls. So it just goes on to show that not all is right with Indian sports. And I have to tell you, Gargi, that when it comes to women's football, the women's footballers have outperformed their male counterpart in terms of, you know, international achievements. And women's football happens to be the only source of solace, pride and joy for All India Football Federation. And I think that's the reason they also launched this tournament. It's the first edition of the tournament.
And the point you made, Rika, about how unprofessionally all this was handled, we're showing our viewers, you know, a history of attacks and abuse of women, sports people, and clearly we need to make a more professional, more safe environment from them. You know, it goes, and the most recent case was, of course, of the Indian women wrestlers complaining against Federation Chief Bhushan Sharan Singh, who was removed as the president at the time, but you know, still he's not been punished really. So I'm running out of time. I would like the final comments on this, and first Valanka Alemao still on the phone line with us. Ma'am, your final comments. Will you ensure justice is done and these girls can go on and have a very good career?
We need to make it a safe environment to every girl who wants to play football, and we need to have the standard operative procedures in place, which will be taken up immediately.
Right, absolutely. It shouldn't be escalated in this manner. Dr. Sunita Godara, your comments, because we want more girls to come out. We want them to have sporting careers. We want them to join a sport. And it's so important, but at the same time to have a safe environment so parents don't feel, you know, nervous about sending their girls for these sporting events.
See, first of all, they should have lady managers there always present with the girls. Secondly, the person whosoever is doing the mischief or any assault, that person should be given exemplary punishment so that the rest of the people get lesson.
Absolutely, and hopefully exemplary punishment will take place in this case as well. Arrest has been made, and this is after the sports minister asked for action. Jonathan D'Souza, your comments?
Yeah, on our side, from the local Goa Football Association, we have already assured the girls in the evening when we were at the police station together. We assured them that we will have a lawyer in place for them in Goa so that they need not come every time to Goa and face these legal hassles.
Right.
In fact, after our assurance, they got the courage to file a complaint, and the FIR was registered at the police station. So we are doing all that is in our power. We are working closely with the All India Football Federation also. Soon, I think the disciplinary committee, the ethics committee, and the internal complaints committee of the AFF will take cognizance of this matter, and I'm sure they will come out with a report very soon.
All right, a final word, Rika.
And the truth will prevail, and the person who has done the damage will be accountable for the same.
Balanka, I just want to ask you one last question. Does All India Football Federation have a POSH committee, and will this go to the POSH committee, and will the investigations be done?
No, I will do whatever I can from my side, and I will make sure that the justice is delivered. Right now, there is an inquiry committee which is already on, and everything has been given to the particular committee, and AIFF will do the needful, and the wrongdoer will be punished.
All right. Well, thank you so much all for joining us on this program. A very, very important issue. We need to make sport safer for our women. And, as Rika was pointing out, there needs to be more professional rules in place. There needs to be a more professional environment. And clearly, what happened in Goa is extremely shameful. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Rika, for being on the program with us. With that, we'll slip into a short break. Coming up on the other side, opposition parties claim it's poll season. It's raining tax notices.
Hello and welcome to NDTV Auto. What I have with me today is real special. It is the latest EV from Audi, Q6. What's special about it is it's based on a completely new platform, PPE, Premium Platform Electric. This platform Audi has developed for their electric vehicles, and it has a lot to offer. Company says the new platform PPE helps Audi Q6 e-tron achieve 30% less energy consumption with 33% better system performance. With the Q6, Audi is also introducing its electronic architecture E3 1.2, which allows customers to experience digitalization directly in the vehicle, making Audi Q6 e-tron a truly tech marvel. So here it is, all that you need to know about Q6 e-tron. Audi Q6 e-tron is the upcoming EV from Audi's stable and is expected to come to Indian shores by the end of this year. International launch is expected in second half of this year. It is a 4.7-meter SUV which will occupy the space between Q4 and Q8 e-tron. It will come in two variants, Q6 e-tron Quattro and the more powerful SQ6 e-tron. What we have today with us is the S variant. What I want to show you, the first in the look of Audi Q6 are these DRLs. They are matrix LED DRLs with active signature. That means you can change the pattern that gets projected from these DRLs, and they also move while the car is on the move. That means you can actually have an active DRL. And I believe this feature is the highlight of Audi's upcoming baby. Up front is the grille. Now what I want to show you is this single frame grille. Audi is calling it inverted single frame grille, and it looks very interesting. It's all closed off but looks very nice with these piano black inserts given here. And then we have seen these very flattish Audi logo in other products, but here there is a little bit of 3D element in the logo. Now you have to notice this very prominent shoulder line which goes all the way to the tail lamp. The rear looks quite interesting with its almost wrapped around feel to the D pillar. And the most interesting part.
Welcome back. With elections just around the corner, opposition has alleged they're being hounded by the IT department. The Congress already said it received 2 more income tax notices. This a day after they said they've been asked to pay over 1,800 crore in penalty by the income tax department. The Communist Party of India also said they've been served a notice asking them to pay dues of 11 crore, and this was due to the usage of an old PAN card, while Trinamool Congress MP Saket Gokhale said he received 11 notices from the income tax department pertaining to several years ago. Well, to explain more about these tax notices, because the Congress is claiming that this is tax terrorism, we're joined by Sachit Jolly, a senior tax lawyer at the Delhi High Court. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, please explain to us about political parties and taxes. Political parties aren't taxed. However, it's because they have not submitted their returns, etc. We're being told these tax notices, and for the Congress, some pertaining back to the year when when Kesri used to run the party, when he was the president. So please explain to us these allegations being made by the opposition.
Kagi, come 31st March of any financial year, every taxpayer gets a slurry of notices. When it comes to, and this 31st March of 2024 seems to fall close to the elections, and I think that's why the hue and cry. But every taxpayer in the country, you go to any tax lawyer, they'll tell you 31st March, 30th, 31st December are all busy periods. Now, coming to the 2 buckets of notices which the Congress seems to have received. First of all, the first set of notices came way back in 2021. In fact, the tax tribunal and the High Court have both actually put the buck back on the Congress party to say that, look, you were sleeping, and therefore these notices have now seemed to, catch your attention, or the tax now has crystallized, because this 31st March, like I said, is the period where the government closes its books, and the tax department seems to run after every taxpayer to recover money, and Congress party seems to be one of them. So that's one bucket of notices. The second seems to be there were some searches conducted on certain other people from where the tax department collected information, served again notices on the Congress party somewhere in April, May, and June 2023. And those have now crystallized into tax demands, as we call them in legal parlance.
Right.
Again, closer to 31st March, which is the norm. So,
All right. Well, I'm sorry we couldn't get more into it. I'm completely out of time, but you're explaining this as 31st March and it being a routine. The Congress, of course, is calling it tax terrorism. And finally, we do want to put the spotlight on the awards NDTV has won at NBA 2023. NDTV won big with several big awards for our shows and our anchors.
And Saudi Arabia, please put your hands together for the winner.
All right, so lots of awards for NDTV. With that, we'll slip into a short break. News and updates continue on NDTV. Stay with us.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. बनेगा स्वस्थ इंडिया, वन वर्ल्ड हाइजीन.
आईपीएल का हल्ला बल्ला और सबसे शानदार कवरेज सिर्फ एनडीटीवी पर.
Hello and welcome to the NDTV Dialogues, a conversation of ideas. This week, our very special guest is Ukraine's foreign minister in India for the first time, Dmytro Kuleba. He comes at a time when the Ukraine conflict has now continued for over 2 years. They're looking at a peace summit soon, and he's here on the foreign minister, Mr. Jaishankar's invitation. Prime Minister Modi has often said that this is not an era of war. What does this actually mean for Ukraine? Thank you so much for being on the NDTV Dialogue.
Thank you.
Namaste and welcome to India. Your first visit at a difficult time for Ukraine.
You first and timely, and it didn't take me a lot of time to accept the invitation because India is a very important player in the world, and we need India to restore just and lasting peace in Ukraine.
Do you think, because there have been some very interesting statements by our foreign minister who's been traveling this week before your meeting, in one he's talked about India and Russia's closeness and how we look out, we take special care of each other's interests. But he's also made the point that in Ukraine, that India has been the player who has given very frank messages to Russia, and that he said that India has been used to pass on messages to Russia from other countries. What do you think of the India stand considering our closeness and old relationship with Russia?
I think that the relationship between India and Russia is based to a large extent on the Soviet legacy. Mm-hmm. But Soviet legacy comes to extinct. It has no future. It's the past. And the future of India is in the circle of democracies that respect law, that do not commit atrocities, that want to prioritize development instead of war. As you rightly mentioned, the famous words by Prime Minister Modi, this is not the era of war. And being with Russia means all the opposite to what I said. Because it was Russia who triggered the second largest war in Europe, the largest war in Europe since Second World War. We understand there are some economic, technological ties between India and Russia, and India is a sovereign nation. It has a right to develop relations with any country. It seems appropriate. But first, if India and Russia are so close, it means that India can influence the way Russia behaves. And this is one of the reasons why the voice of India is so important. But second, as I said, I don't think this relationship has a future for the reason that I mentioned. I think Ukrainian-Indian relationship has more future in that sense.
Though, of course, Prime Minister Modi congratulated President Putin on his re-election on a day that he also spoke to President Zelensky. What would you like Prime Minister Modi to do? You've made this point, of course, that India is a global power. Prime Minister Modi has a strong voice globally. What would you like Prime Minister Modi to do and India to do in the current situation?
Well, we believe India can use its relations with Russia to make Russia stop this atrocious and absurd war. Second, India can play a very important role in bringing together more nations from global south and no one is using this term global north, but probably it exists. If global south exists, then global north exists as well. So if India sits at the table of the peace formula, the initiative put forward by Ukraine to find a diplomatic solution to the war, then many other nations will feel much safer and comfortable sitting next to India, and they will come and join this effort, this exercise. And thirdly, I think India, what matters for India in Ukraine is not just the restoration of excellent bilateral ties that we always had. Trade, students, people-to-people contacts, respect for culture, but also respect for international law. That you cannot change borders by force, that you cannot invade your neighbors, that you cannot commit atrocities. This is the world that India will benefit from, and this is the world that Russia tries to destroy.
2 years ago, just months after this began, you raised some eyebrows in India when you made the point that India importing cheap Russian oil is the price that is being paid as in Ukrainian blood. You said every barrel of oil has Ukrainian blood in it. India made the point, and the foreign minister said this forcefully, that in fact Europe and the European Union actually imported more Russian oil than the following 10 nations. Have you changed your stance since then? Do you recognize, and you may not agree with, but do you respect India's right to import cheap Russian oil, or to do, as Foreign Minister Jaishankar has said, to do what is best for India's interests?
Well, I think it's the job of any foreign minister to do what is best for his country. Second, I'm not the European Union, at least yet. So I have a right to speak, and I do speak from a Ukrainian perspective. We appreciate many things that the European Union is doing, while at the same time I can also criticize the European Union for what it's either doing or not doing. That's a different story. But the position of Ukraine on this is very simple. Whatever helps to finance Russian war machine is bad, and we will always speak openly against it. However, when we learned that India is paying for Russian oil in rupees, which do not end up in the Russian economy, and therefore the Russian war machine does not benefit from this money, we are fine with that, as long as this money do not enter Russian economy and are not used by Russia to produce more bombs and ballistic missiles to bomb our cities and kill us. Second, we see a change in the way India, I would say, operates on oil market. And third, and probably most important, back then when I was making this comment, our relationship with India was different. Many things were happening between India and Russia back then, and almost nothing between Ukraine and India. So the point was that if you have this opportunity to benefit from Russian constructiveness in identifying all oil prices, then you have to recognize that it's happening because there is a war, and do more with Ukraine, because this is what at least balancing is about. Mm-hmm. But a lot has changed since then. and I just spoke about it. And if I was as hard now as I used to be back then, you and I wouldn't be talking in Delhi.
I'm very glad we are talking in Delhi because also, of course, we've just seen what happened in the terror attacks in Moscow, where we've had President Putin go on and say that this was done by radical Islamists, but who was supporting them, and repeating the claim that they were heading towards South Ukraine. Is this actually a setback in any kind of possible global mediation and negotiation between Russia and Ukraine? And how would you respond? Do you think the Moscow terror attacks have actually been a turning point? Or do you think that there is still hope for a possible peace formula, which Ukraine is, of course, leading the attempts in Switzerland soon?
The moment I saw the first news about the terrorist attack in Russia, I immediately said that you don't have to wait too long until they will find a Ukrainian trace or Ukrainian footprint in it. And unfortunately, I was right. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. If there is anything that can be used to discredit Ukraine in the eyes of international community, if there is anything that can be used to mobilize more Russians against Ukrainians, it will be done. This is the attitude and the approach that the Russian leadership has taken. They attacked us in 2014 under completely false pretext. They attacked us in 2022 under completely false pretext. They kept lying to the whole world that they were not going to invade Ukraine, and they did. They lie all the time. So why do you think this time they're saying the truth?
But will it be a setback, do you think, to peace efforts?
No, it will not be a setback, because every ballistic missile that falls on the heads of Ukrainians every single day is a setback.
In fact, that's actually, in a sense, because we've seen that especially in March, it stepped up the attack on Ukraine, the ballistic missiles. Russia claims that Ukraine is also using drones. But the point being that, do you feel that the world, in a way, has lost interest? I mean, the fact that in the US Congress as well, you've seen US presidential candidates, ex-President Trump make the point that the US needs to worry about its domestic problems, not what's happening in Ukraine. Do you think the world in some sense is losing interest at what's actually happening and the human cost?
Well, if I look at the front pages of the media outlets, yes, I see more Gaza war than the war, the Russian aggression against Ukraine. But you know,
that's tragic actually. Which war is more interesting? Yes.
You are a better expert in how media works and how attention works. Every new war will always overshadow the already existing war. This is how it works in terms of media. And of course, if you judge by the headlines, you may come to a conclusion that the attention is being lost. But if you follow the decisions that various governments have taken since the beginning of the year, everything will speak against that conclusion. We see Germany and other countries in Europe stepping up their support significantly. More and more military assistance packages are being announced and delivered to Ukraine. F-16s will arrive to Ukraine soon, and we will shift from the Soviet era fighting planes to Western planes. Yes, there is a debate in the United States. We all follow it with popcorn in our hands. It's pretty dramatic, I agree. But both Democrats and Republicans, they agree that support to Ukraine must continue. The question is who makes most of the points domestically on this support and the format of this support. But I do not believe that US will withdraw. Even if anyone wants US to completely isolate itself and focus entirely on domestic issues, this is simply impossible. This is not how the world works. This is not how the world operates. So the United States will continue to be involved in fixing the world.
But the UN and its relevance, because you mentioned the Gaza, so whether it's what's happening in Gaza, whether it's what's happening in Ukraine, the UN and its question of its significance in an increasingly multipolar world, does the UN actually represent what we would want to see or actually make any difference to the significant world events of our time?
Well, the easiest thing for any diplomat is to criticize the UN, because there is no one to retaliate. But I will not resort to this easy exercise, because the war taught us that only difficult exercises are worth spending your energy on. I think it's clear that the UN is struggling. The UN is struggling because the balance of power inside of the UN is broken. And every new death as a result of a war in the world is, as we say, is another nail in the coffin of the United Nations. But UN is trying. It's trying its best, but it just can't, because it gets paralyzed if there is no agreement among key stakeholders. And unfortunately, we know from the history of international relations that world organizations are being reset as a result of world wars. And the best we can do is to direct all our energy at preventing this from happening again and resetting the United Nations in a way that would occur without the need for the world to suffer another global catastrophe. It needs to change. I firmly believe that Russia must be out of the UN Security Council, India must be in, other countries should become permanent members. The way UN operates must be changed. We need this institution, but as it stands now, it's getting more and more difficult for them to remain relevant.
You made this point about world wars, and of course President Putin said just after his re-election that we're just a step away from World War III. Now he was referring to Macron's statements that French troops could be on the ground in Ukraine. How would you respond to that, and the fact that this reference to World War III is something that may lead many countries especially to say that we should actually step back on helping Ukraine, or this question of whether ground troops of NATO or France should come to Ukraine?
Apparently, President Putin does not consider the presence of Russian troops in Ukraine as a step towards Third World War. But since the very beginning of the conflict, of the invasion, Russia was always threatening every country in the world and scaring it away and saying, if you continue to help Ukraine, you will be punished. And it never worked, because the leverage is, there are very few strings that Putin can pull. So he stepped up his pressure, his rhetoric, and started speaking about collective retaliation in a form of Third World War. But I think President Putin loves his lavish life too much to put it at the risk of extinction by resorting to Third World War. But of course, in order to persuade countries not to help Ukraine, he will continue to heat up his rhetoric. But this is just rhetoric that he is using, and the louder he gets, it means the more problems he is facing.
And do you feel that over possible threats of nuclear weapons or tactical use of nuclear weapons as well?
You cannot exclude anything in this world, but everything we've seen so far speaks for one thing, that Putin loves blackmailing. But when he fails, he does not retaliate. What he does is that he uses his propaganda machine to explain to his own people why failure is a success. That's what we've seen. When his army was retreating from Kherson region, when they were retreating from Kharkiv region, every failure of Russian army in Ukraine was turned into a huge success instead of an action of retaliation against Ukraine. So we have to be serious about any reference to nuclear weapons, but Russia using nuclear weapons will effectively mean the end of Russia.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see the way out? There is going to be a peace summit in Switzerland. Tell us more about what exactly that will entail, and do you feel you will be able to bring enough nations around that Switzerland table to actually have influence on Russia?
In October 2022, UN General Assembly voted a resolution on the main principles of restoring peace in Ukraine. 143 nations voted in favor. So our peace formula is based on the UN principles. It doesn't say anything more than what is already said in these resolutions. So those countries who voted for these resolutions should face no problem in supporting what is written in the peace formula. And 143 is a big number.
The highlights of, what would the highlights be of that peace formula?
The highlights peace formula consists of 10 points. It starts with food security, energy security, exchange of prisoners, return of deported children, accountability for crimes committed in it, and it ends with the fixation of the end of the war. So basically peace formula is a menu that addresses all major problems caused by the large-scale invasion of Russia in Ukraine. And we designed this menu, I deliberately use the word menu, in a way that any country can pick up the issue that it wants to work on. For example, you want to work on the exchange of prisoners, but you do not want to work on bringing Russian leadership to account for war crimes committed in Ukraine. And that's fine. Then you simply sign up for 1 or 2 or 3 points that you like, but you do not get involved on what you find politically sensitive for yourself. And it allows us to have more countries on board. And every coordination meeting at the level of national security advisors related to this issue, of which India was a part of, was bringing more and more countries on board. We started with 15, and in something about a year or so, we reached 80 participants. The number of participants reached 80. So, but there is one important lesson that we learned. When you negotiate with Russia, make sure that Russia does not have a chance to obstruct negotiations entirely, as it was the case between 2014 and 2022, when we held around 200 rounds of talks with Russia in different formats, and it led to only one result: large-scale invasion of Russia in Ukraine. So we said, first summit, we bring together all nations who share these principles, who pick the item on the menu that they want to work on. They form groups, they agree on the action plans and how they're going to reach objectives of these points. Then in between the first and the second summit, communication with Russia can take place according to the rules agreed by participants, and we make sure that Russia does not have a chance to obstruct the summit, the peace process as such.
So India's presence there would be very important for you.
Absolutely, crucial, and this is one of the reasons why I'm here. India has been, as I said, India has been a part of preparatory coordination meetings, and President Zelensky and Prime Minister Modi discussed the issue of the summit in their phone talk.
One other aspect, of course, was of Indian medical students in Ukraine. What would you, when you talk about greater ties between India, you're also meeting with business leaders here in India as well. What do you see as the future of those ties? When do you think medical students will be able to come back safely? And what would Ukraine actually do for them? And also for the increasing business ties with India, where do you see that going?
You see, slightly more than a month ago, I was walking my dog late at night, and I got bitten by another dog. And I was taken to the hospital, and the doctor who was taking care of me on the night shift at the hospital was an Indian, a young lady, and who studied in Ukraine, who stayed in Ukraine, also during the war. And you have to understand that while many Indian students come back to India after studying in Ukraine to help their communities, others stay and become part of our community, of our society. Kharkiv, a beautiful city in eastern Ukraine, was the capital of Holi festival in Ukraine.
Really?
Every year, Indian students, together with Ukrainian students, turned the streets and the squares of Kharkiv into an Indian city by celebrating Holi. Today, the city is being systematically destroyed by Russia on a daily basis. It's located only 40 kilometers away from the border with Russia. Every day, missiles being shot at this city. The city is, I mean, in terms of India, it's not that big. It's only 1.3 million people. But for Ukraine, it's huge. And I regret to say it, you cannot safely stay in Kharkiv today. Neither Ukrainian nor Indian students can do that. But we want all of this to be back. We want Holi to be celebrated on the streets of Kharkiv again. We don't want to see Russian bombs there, not to mention Russian soldiers. And we took measures to allow students to study, foreign students to study in other parts of Ukraine. It's because we consider them, these foreign students, as part of our society, and we greatly value this part of our bilateral cooperation.
I don't know if you've read reports that how Indians who went on holiday or some visa issue to Russia have now been cooperated or tricked into actually fighting with Russian forces.
Well, this is the issue for Putin is that he is actively using prisoners to fight in the. So basically, his people come to prisons and say, you will get amnesty if you agree to fight in Ukraine, which means almost certain death. But many decide to take the risk. They force foreigners who illegally stay in Russia to go to the army. It happens, and many others complain on Russia and demand not to do it, because for Putin, people are just a cannon fodder. He just sends them into the battle, and thousands of them die. They call it themselves meat storms. Their own officers call their soldiers meat that is being sent into storms, and we kill one wave of our soldiers kill one wave of Russian attackers after another, and it's just statistics when you read the numbers in the end of the week. But these are all human beings. They all have stories behind them.
Of course.
And many of them ended up there not out of their will, but because the Russian state created such conditions to them as to force them to end up there, and it mainly applies to foreigners.
Finally, Foreign Minister, you posted a video with the Mahatma Gandhi statue behind you and talking about the legacy of the Mahatma just before your visit here. You will of course be meeting Foreign Minister Jaishankar, and whether Prime Minister Modi as well is still unclear, but what would you tell them, given the fact, the context, as I said, of India's relationship with Russia, the fact that India hadn't, even the G20 declaration did not have a word criticism of Russia, we've abstained from UN resolutions, and we feel very strongly that there is an India way, an India first foreign policy, even given this conflict. What would you say to them as Ukraine's representative?
We will have a very candid conversation about all the good things and the things that we dislike in our policies, I mean in Ukrainian policy, but also in Indian policy. Since I will be seeing Dr. Jaishankar tomorrow, I can give him heads up to our conversation, thanks to your question. My point is very simple. Very few believed that Mahatma Gandhi would succeed and India would become an independent nation through a peaceful resistance. And today, many say that Ukraine will not be able to restore its territorial integrity, to make its Ukraine first policy. But Mahatma succeeded, and Ukraine will succeed as well, because the truth was on his side and is on our side today. And I'm sure that India will be on the side of truth again as well, because supporting Ukraine today is supporting the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi, freedom, independence, and belief that if you fight for the right cause, you will eventually succeed, irrespective of how strong your enemy is.
Foreign Minister, thank you very much for your very strong articulation of Ukraine's stand in the situation, according to Ukraine today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now friends, if I talk about the first story or the top story of the week, well, it's a very special one. मेरी जेब में वो phone है फिलहाल, but this phone, let me just tell you a basic set of details around this phone और फिर आप guess करना कि वो क्या हो सकता है. So ये जो phone है, the total weight is more than
Football official Deepak Sharma is arrested after NDTV reported on how two women footballers alleged he assaulted them during a tour in Goa. Sports Minister Anurag Thakur had asked for strict action to be taken after the NDTV report. The BJP releases its 8th list of Lok Sabha candidates. 11 candidates on the list: Praneeth Kaur from Patiala, Taranjeet Sandhu from Amritsar, Ravneet Bittu from Ludhiana and Hansraj Hans from Faridkot. In poll season, it's raining tax notices against opposition parties. The Congress says it got 2 more notices overnight after having already got an 1,800 crore notice. The CPI also received an 11 crore notice, while Trinamool Congress MP Saket Gokhale says he received 11 notices. The NCP Sharad Pawar faction announces its first list of 5 candidates for the Lok Sabha election. The party renominated sitting MPs Supriya Sule from Baramati and Marathi TV actor turned politician Amol Kole from Shirur. The wives of jailed Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and his former counterpart from Jharkhand Hemant Soren met in Delhi. Kalpana Soren says she and Sunita Kejriwal will take the fight forward. A mega India bloc rally on Sunday. And NDTV wins big at the E4M News Broadcast Awards 2023. Various programs on news, business, talk shows, reports and anchors win awards. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Gargi Rawat. Our top story: the All India Football Federation Executive Committee member Deepak Sharma was arrested by the Goa police for allegedly physically assaulting 2 women players. 2 footballers of Himachal Pradesh-based Khad FC taking part in the Indian Women's Football League 2nd Division in Goa had alleged that Sharma, the owner of the club, had barged into their room and physically assaulted them on the night of March 28. Now, Sports Minister Anurag Thakur had reacted to the NDTV report and asked for action to be taken, leading to the officials' arrest on Saturday evening. Now, let's just listen in to what one of the footballers told NDTV, where she said Sir was drunk.
Actually, उस दिन हमारा मैच था. मुझे मेरी इंजरी है, मुझे बैक पेन था, तो मैंने खाना नहीं खाया था उस रीजन से. तो रात में मैंने अपने टीममेट को बोल करके अंडे ऑलरेडी बुलवा करके रखे थे कि अगर मुझे भूख लगेगी तो मैं अंडे खा लूंगी रात को. तो मुझे रात में 10:30-11 बज रहे थे. मैंने अंडे बॉईल करने के लिए मैं किचन में गई. फिर मैंने अंडे बॉईल किए तो एक लड़की मेरे साथ और किचन में थी. सर ने उसको रूम में बुलाया. उसके बाद मैं रूम में थी, मैं अंडे रख करके रूम के अंदर आ गई थी और मेरी जो टीममेट थी वो किचन में थी. उसको सर ने रूम में बुलाया और उसको पूछा कि क्या कर रहे हो इतनी रात में. फिर उसने बोला सर उसने खाना नहीं खाया है तो वो अंडे बॉईल कर दिया. तो सर ने उसको डांट करके अंदर रूम में भेज दिया। वो रूम में आई और सर ने फिर मुझे आवाज दी बाहर चिल्ला करके कि पलक बाहर। मैं बाहर गई, मैंने बोला यस सर। बोला तू ये क्या कर रही थी रात को? मैंने बोला सर मैंने खाना नहीं खाया तो मैं एग बॉईल कर रही हूँ। तो उन्होंने बोला कि फेंक के सारे अंडे, तू कहीं से स्पेशल है, कोई कहाँ से आई हुई है, तेरे पास ज्यादा पैसा है ये वो। मैंने बोला नहीं सर मैंने खाना नहीं खाया, मैं इसीलिए अंडे बॉईल कर रही हूँ क्योंकि खाना खत्म हो गया। तो बोला फेंक के सारे अंडे उठा करके। वो बहुत जोर जोर से चिल्लाते एंड ही वाज ड्रंक दैट टाइम।
एंड आप पर हाथ उठाया उन्होंने?
अंडे फेंकने बोला, मैंने अंडे सारे फेंक दिए और फिर मैं रोने लगी किचन में। मैंने बर्तन साफ किया बॉईल करने वाला और मैं रूम में आके रोने लगी। तो जब मैं रूम में अंदर आई तो मैंने गेट गुस्से में जोर से बंद किया। मैं रो रही थी कुछ, तो मैं रूम में आकर के रोने लगी और सर बाहर से जब मैंने गेट जोर से लगाया तो सर भागकर अंदर आए। और उस टाइम पे मेरे रूममेट जो थी, रात के 11 बज रहे थे उस टाइम, और मेरी रूममेट विदाउट टी शर्ट थी, शी वॉज टॉपलेस दैट टाइम। और सर डायरेक्टली विदाउट नॉक किए रूम के अंदर आए और सीधे उन्होंने अंदर आके मेरे ऊपर हाथ उठाया।
All right, so that was the conversation with the footballer, and in the evening Deepak Sharma was arrested. NDTV's Rika sent us this report.
After Sports Minister Anurag Thakur called up the Home Minister of Goa, action was taken against the errant football official Deepak Sharma. He was finally arrested. He was called for a second round of questioning at the Mapusa police station this afternoon, following which the arrest happened. Good news for the 5 girls who complained against him and his behavior. Apparently the man in question, Deepak Sharma, who's an official, who's an executive committee member of All India Football Federation and very close to the president, Kalyan Chaube, has a track record of drinking while on job. He has been drinking all the way from Himachal to Delhi when the girls travelled in a tempo traveller. And remember, there wasn't a woman manager with them during their journey from Himachal to Delhi and onward to Goa. Now, the 2 girls who were thrashed by this manager did not participate in the match that happened today. They said that they were mentally and physically not in sync. They could not play the match because they were very scared. They were scared for their lives. Now the Goa Football Association has made arrangements for them to return to their hometown, and they will be leaving as early as 3 a.m. The All India Football Federation at the end of the day said that they will leave no stone unturned to see investigations happen. This gentleman, Deepak Sharma, has been suspended from all footballing activities, but the significant thing here is that AIFF, which is the governing body of football in the country, still doesn't have a posh committee.
And we also spoke to Valanka Alemau, the AIFF Women's Committee chairperson, and asked her whether strict action will be taken and these girls be protected. Your comments on this entire episode and the fact that, after the media reported it is when the matter got escalated. The Sports Minister Anurag Thakur took notice of the NDTV report and immediately, posted on social media and said that he wants to know what action has been taken. And now, just a short while ago, the arrest was made.
Yeah, hi. So I had gone to meet them on behalf of the Federation and to see that the girls are safe, and to please go ahead with the complaint, because being a woman, I can understand what a woman goes through, and nobody, if anybody has done such things, can go scot-free. And the Federation has assured these girls that come what may, the wrongdoer will be punished. He can be anybody.
Well, you've been in football administration for a very, very long time, and I was very surprised to hear from one of the girls complainants that she took your name, saying that you and another official, the manager of the team, asked them not to complain. Could you tell us what happened, and were the girls lying in your and the official's name?
First of all, the manager was not even there. Okay? So this is completely false. There is some false news being spread to defame me. And I personally think that the association here in Goa has their, personal agendas to defame me. And that is what exactly is happening. I am nobody to tell somebody, not to complain. And if that was the intention, I wouldn't even have gone there.
Why did it take till Saturday for a complaint, Friday night, for a complaint to be filed, and Saturday for us to do a story, and then the sports minister to ring into action for this guy to be arrested?
Rika, please understand that these girls have already given the complaint to the federation. And I just got to know about it yesterday.
Okay, what is being done, Valanka, what is being done to ensure the safety of the girls, and also to ensure that if they are deserving, that they get picked hereafter?
See, Rika, a serious inquiry is on, and please understand, legal action will be taken. First of all, the federation has already decided to suspend Mr. Deepak Sharma from all footballing activities unless the probe is complete.
Right. So, being the chairperson there in charge of women's football, what will you do to ensure that these girls, if they are deserving in the future, they get picked and their safety is, they are looked after and their safety is paramount?
Of course their safety is paramount. And we will have to see to this, because we have made sure that actually there have to be more females traveling with these girls than males. And we have a child safeguarding policy at place as well.
All right, moving on to political news now. The BJP released its 8th list of Lok Sabha candidates. 11 candidates were on this 8th list, and many names from Punjab. And Praneeth Kaur, who left the Congress and joined the BJP, has been fielded from Patiala, and former diplomat Taranjit Sandhu from Amritsar. Let's go across to Ghazali now for more. And Ghazali, take us through the highlights. Also, Hansraj Hans from Faridkot.
If you all see, highlight is that out of the 6 candidates who have been announced by the BJP, 3 of them are turncos. The Ludhiana MP, the Jalandhar MP, and the Patiala MP. They are all sitting MPs who switched over from Congress to the BJP, barring the Jalandhar MP, who was from Aam Aadmi Party and switched over to the BJP just a couple of days ago. Now, talking about Faridkot constituency, Faridkot is a reserved constituency, and it also shows that perhaps BJP is looking for the best candidates out of all the other parties, getting them into their own party and then fielding it for the Lok Sabha elections. Taranjit Sandhu is an interesting name, but the ones who are watching Punjab, or the old watchers of Punjab, know that was a very obvious name, because for the last couple of months since his retirement, Mr. Sandhu has been touring the constituency in Amritsar. He has been meeting locals, and it was almost known to everyone that he is the most, you can say, the strongest ticket contender for the BJP. But very interesting fact that he will be the second diplomat to try his debut in politics. Earlier, Mr. Hardeep Puri had contested the elections from Amritsar, but he had lost the elections there. Then you have Praneeth Kaur from Patiala. She is a sitting MP. She resigned from Congress, also as a member of parliament, and then switched over to the BJP, and then she has been fielded from Patiala. Same goes with Ludhiana, where Mr. Ravneet Bittu, who switched over to the BJP a couple of days ago, he has been fielded from Ludhiana. Jalandhar MP, I told it was Mr. Sushil Rinku from Aam Aadmi Party. He jumped to the BJP and has been fielded there. Besides that, the Gurdaspur candidate is a local BJP politician, and BJP this time is not banking on the star factor. Earlier it was Vinod Khanna and then Sunny Deol, but this time a local politician has been given the ticket to try his luck in Gurdaspur seat.
All right, Ghazali, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. So the 8th is there announced by the BJP. Union Minister Rajnath Singh will again head the committee for the BJP manifesto, and Union Ministers Nirmala Sitharaman and Piyush Goyal will be the convener and co-convener respectively. The 27-member list released by the BJP also includes names of the recently elected Chief Ministers of Chhattisgarh, Vishnu Deo Sai, and the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Mohan Yadav, as well. The Nationalist Congress Party Sharad Pawar faction announced its first list of 5 candidates for the Lok Sabha elections today. In its first list, the party renominated sitting MP Supriya Sule from Baramati and Marathi TV actor turned politician Amol Kolhe from Shirur Lok Sabha constituency. Jayant Patil, the state president, said that other names will be released soon. With that, time for us to slip into a short break. More news coming up on the other side.